Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar celebration on lab to market activities and provide an overview on how the U.S. government is working to ensure that our taxpayer investment in research and development leads to a thriving economy. My name is Catherine Tyner, and I'm here today representing the Office of Science and Technology Policy within the Executive Office of the President. Next slide, please. So what is federal lab to market? Lab to market is a whole of government priority, the goal of which is to transition federally funded innovations from the laboratory, ensuring that the almost $150 billion taxpayer investment in research and development leads to meaningful impact through products, services, and companies. The current advancements in medicine, communications, transportation, physics, engineering, and all other fields will help us tackle the challenges of our time and allow Americans to live safer, healthier, and more economically prosperous lives. However, to get there, we need these innovations to get from the laboratory to the marketplace to realize their potential. Next slide, please. If we look at US dollars invested in science and engineering research and development over time, we see that the federal government invests about $150 billion of taxpayer money per year on science and engineering. The total US spending in research and development is about $500 billion, and that includes investment from businesses, universities, and other entities such as NGOs. Given the amount of federal spending, lab to market has been a cross-agency priority across multiple administrations to ensure that our federal research dollars transfer technology, knowledge, and capabilities that result from federally funded research and development into productive uses, and where appropriate, commercialization. This has been a focus of the government for decades, and actually for centuries. Next slide, please. Interest in technology transfer goes back to the very founding of our country. Our founding fathers were grappling with issues such as international intellectual property rights and the need to incentivize innovation within the American industry. This quote from Alexander Hamilton's report on manufacturers highlights Hamilton's recommendation to apply lessons learned to establish countries like the British Empire to encourage domestic innovation. So even after 2 centuries, this is still an important topic to the United States. Next slide, please. So some fun facts. Did you know that the federal government invests approximately $150 billion annually in research and development conducted at federal agencies, universities, and industrial partnerships? Well, hopefully you did, because I said it 2 slides ago. But also, did you know there are over 300 federal laboratories that conduct this research and development? And John Dement will later in this webinar talk about ways to engage these laboratories. And also, over $1 trillion in economic growth and millions of new jobs have been attributed to technology transfer activities in just the last couple of years. So this is an incredibly important initiative to the US government. Next slide, please. All of this work is accomplished through strong partnerships with the federal government, with many departments and agencies, and you can see some of those logos on the left-hand side of your screen. Implementation of these strategies rely on various committees, councils, and you can see some of them on the right-hand side, such as the National Science and Technology Council Lab to Market Subcommittee, and a variety of other interagency bodies and working groups. These groups work to enhance partnerships, increase training and workforce development, and community outreach, and all other ways to ensure that we are constantly improving the transition of federally funded research to the marketplace. Next slide, please. So we're excited today to announce the winners of 2 prize competitions that recognize inclusive and regional ecosystem builders and best practices for extramural invention reporting. We will also hear about recent and current lab to market activities and ways to engage with those 300 federal laboratories that I mentioned. Next slide, please. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I am pleased to turn the floor over to Paul 𝐊𝐚𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐶.
Thank you, Catherine. Hello, my name is Paul 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐶, and I am the Executive Director of the Federal Laboratory Consortium for Technology Transfer, or FLC. I want to thank you for spending some of your valuable time with us as we celebrate the Lab to Market Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem and Peer Prize winners as part of National Entrepreneurship Week. Implementing economic ecosystems are truly a community activity, and hopefully we find ways to work together to spur and further economic growth. This event is a great opportunity to recognize some of the people that do so much to bring us all together for a common purpose. I think this past year has demonstrated that even in a virtual world, we still depend on building relationships. With that in mind, a special thanks to the Office of Science and Technology Policy, the Small Business Administration, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and the Department of Energy, along with all of the federal Lab to Market community. You'll hear about some of these efforts and highlights of the Lab to Market community a little bit later in our presentation. I would like to offer my congratulations to all of today's award winners, but also sincerely thank all of those that participated. You serve as an example as leaders and movers in the technology commercialization community. We at the FLC share your vision and your passion. Let me share a little bit about the FLC. The FLC is a consortium of over 1,000 federally funded laboratories that span across all sectors of our government and economy. We represent the collective strength of many $1 billion invested annually in research and development, as you just heard from Catherine. You'll hear more about the details of the FLC later today from the FLC chair. But as demonstrated by our awardees, the federal government is only part of the equation. When you think about the potential of all the research at our labs and across all of our communities, I ask you to consider that this work does not reach the people as products and services without a strong and vibrant business sector and all of the parts of the ecosystem that's needed to support that growth. We rely on partnerships with companies to make and sell the products and services that drive our economy and keep our nation at the forefront of global competition. If we've learned anything from this pandemic, it's the importance of partnerships between researchers and businesses. If you think about all the news stories that mention the need for new treatments, protective equipment, assistive technology, and of course a vaccine, you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. A scientist in a lab may develop a solution, but it is businesses, from small startups to large companies, that take those ideas and make them into actual life-changing and life-saving products. It's a partnership that drives these innovations from lab bench to production, distribution, and sales for the benefit of all. As you listen to the many examples of strong community partnerships, I hope you'll be inspired to further work across these ecosystems. Make use of the tremendous strength of these efforts to help businesses grow and regional economies prosper. Consider this: when we measure the success of an ecosystem, it's not about a single point, but truly a rising tide of new products, new jobs, and economic growth. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to you today, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Congratulations to all of our award winners. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Moja Bahar from the National Institute of Standards and Technology to announce the winners of the Partners Engaged in Extramural Reporting, or PEER Prize.
Hello, I'm Moja Bahar, Associate Director for Innovation and Industry Services at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. It is my pleasure to announce the winners of the NIST PEER Prize competition. PEER stands for Partners Engaged in Extramural Reporting, where NIST engaged with the public to find the best solutions to incentivize recipients of federal research and development funding to comply with BIDOL reporting requirements. This prize supports the cross-governmental work in Lab to Market, a priority of the federal government to increase the economic impact of federally funded research and development. Encouraging universities and companies to follow BIDOL regulations will result in more timely reporting of federally funded inventions and downstream licensing. This will in turn help the government access data to ensure accurate reporting of R&D outcomes and improve the management of extramural funding programs. My thanks to all those who participated in the PEER Prize competition. We received 14 eligible submissions with a wide range of interesting and creative solutions. The 3 winning entries were selected by our esteemed PEER Prize panel of judges: Mr. Joe Allen of Joseph Allen & Associates, Ms. Kathy Koo of the law firm Wilson Sonsini and the former director of Stanford's Office of Technology Licensing, and Mr. Mike Dobbs, Deputy Chief Counsel at the United States Department of Energy. Thank you to our judges. Now the winners. In third place is Dr. Nicholas LeBlanc and his submission entitled Turbo Compliance, a system that guides users through the compliance process. In second place, Dr. Nicholas LeBlanc wins a second time with a submission called Compliance Score. The proposal is a method for institutions to measure their compliance using existing iEdison data fields. And finally, the first place prize winner of the NIST Peer Prize is Miss Rhonda Kivlin of Northeastern University, and the proposed creation of an iEdison Compliance Professional Certification. Ms. Kivlin's winning submission suggests the creation of a comprehensive training module for BIDOL compliance that users can access at will. Upon successful completion of all training modules, the user receives the designation, identifying the recipient as an expert in the field of BIDOL compliance. The judges recognize the value of a professional designation as an incentive to increase the pool of knowledgeable users and in turn, higher compliance rates. Congratulations to Ms. Kivlin and Dr. LeBlanc, and a heartfelt thanks to all the participants in the NIST Peer Prize competition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mojdeh. We look forward to seeing the results of this integrated into the way we conduct our business. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Jennifer Shi and Brittany Sickler of the Small Business Administration. Jennifer and Brittany will be announcing the winners of the Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Prize Competition. They have some very interesting videos to share with you, and I hope you can sit back and enjoy the show. Take it away, Jennifer and Brittany.
Great, thank you so much, Paul. Hi, I'm Jennifer Shi, and I'm the Chief Scientist and Program Manager in the SBA's Office of Investment and Innovation. Our team focuses on America's Seed Fund, the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Programs, SBIR and STTR, which is $4 billion each year that goes from 11 different federal agencies to small businesses and startups that are translating research and development into meaningful impact.
Hi, and I'm Brittany, SBA's Senior Innovation Policy Advisor. My work centers on training, funding, and connecting ecosystem builders in the technology-based economic development arena, specifically encouraging their efforts to build the SBIR and STTR pipeline. A key way we support that outcome is by partnering directly with ecosystem builders across the country and learning from their efforts. And what we've learned so far is that to get the most innovative solutions and technologies, we need to build a truly inclusive ecosystem.
And while we work for the U.S. Small Business Administration, we're actually here representing agencies from across the entire federal government that support innovators that take research from ideas in a lab to those products and companies that improve our lives, that federal lab-to-market community that Catherine described earlier. Through this whole of government effort, we wanted to understand how could we best support that transition of research from the laboratory to the marketplace.
And after robust responses from a request for input, we launched the Lab to Market Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Prize Competition for ecosystem builders with prizes to recognize 3 categories: the super connector, the ecosystem responder, and the visionary.
2 of those categories centered on recognizing targeted impact, while the visionary category was meant to draw out new ideas.
And did we ever draw out ideas? The competition brought together 141 eligible submissions from organizations and individuals across 39 states and territories.
And to tackle that broad range of experience and focus, we had 76 judges, subject matter experts from nonprofit organizations, venture investing, nonprofit philanthropies, university tech transfer offices. We had both federal and non-federal experts that reviewed and narrowed down to where we finally got to today.
It was definitely hard work. And to start us off, I'll focus on the super connector category. That specific category sought to highlight promising practices that others could pick up. As these connectors successfully were including networks of underserved communities in the R&D innovation ecosystem. We really wanted to recognize organizations and groups that have been doing extraordinarily well with a variety of approaches, each of those molded to the needs of their individual context. They are a great reminder of our need to connect and not be siloed. So here are the 4 Super Connector winners of the many great examples that we did receive. Challenge America, Jumpstart Inc., Hofstra University Center for Entrepreneurship, and Hub by 𝐏𝐻OOT. And now, their submission videos.
Together, we are stronger pollinators. In Colmena 66, we have built a network to connect entrepreneurs and researchers, create awareness, and pursue opportunities that help to advance Puerto Rico's economy through innovation. We collaborate with a great diversity of partners from academia, government, nonprofits, incubation and acceleration programs. They are part not only of our network of more than 200 resource partners, but also part of the SBIR-STTR committee. Together, we create and coordinate events to connect people. We connect available resources and put them in a single place. We also connect experts to create toolkits, workshops, and webinars. We design those initiatives by connecting them with the needs of our community. That is why what we do is free, in Spanish, and available on demand for their convenience. And Latinos across USA can use them to be more represented in R&D innovation ecosystems. Our innovation beehive connects with Puerto Rico's needs and will continue to contribute to a more resilient economy. In Colmena 66, we are ecosystem builders, but you can call us super connectors.
Hey, I'm Jason Huselton, Master Maker at the UCA Makerspace. We offer 3D printing, laser engraving, and CNC to the community, totally free. We actually help kids who are 8 years old. We go all the way up until the time that they are seniors. And we introduce them to this technology because most people have never had an opportunity to use this type of equipment or software that we're providing in here. So we fill that gap. We offer free field trips for K through 12, online training, and we'll be launching a virtual tour of our space soon. We also have camps in the summers where middle school kids work with an advertising company to think out of the box and create a new product for a local business. We have helped a number of people bring their vision to life through our tools and have allowed them to go on and get a patent and bring their invention to market. Zipper Genie, geared towards helping women, Roly Poly that will aid children, patients, and hospitals, to name a couple. We've partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, the Veterans Hospital, Museum of Discovery, the Arkansas Regional Innovation Hub. And what this money would allow us to do is expand some of our technology so we can replace some of our well-used equipment. We can introduce people to SLA resin printing, use a rotary table, 3D scanning, and also impact our electronics area. I want to thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Hello from Minnesota. We are excited to share how we are connecting the state corner to corner to grow our innovation ecosystem.
Our MinCore program is part of the National Science Foundation I-Core initiative, training scientists and technologists to commercialize their innovations by launching high-potential startups.
Our network of navigators bridge the gap between our underserved rural and indigenous entrepreneurs and the resources available at the state and national level.
We work with researchers from across the state to develop startups based on their innovation.
We're excited to be Launch Minnesota's statewide educational partner and connect entrepreneurs across the entire state with all the resources at the University of Minnesota.
We work with innovation-driven startups in biotech and medtech across Minnesota that need lab space to grow.
And we are proud to be a Launch Minnesota hub where we connect entrepreneurs throughout 16,000 square miles to education, mentorship, and venture capital.
We help BIPOC entrepreneurs succeed by providing wraparound business development services, advising along with equity and growth capital for BIPOC entrepreneurs throughout the Twin Cities.
Here in Minneapolis-St. Paul, Forge North Partners are providing connectivity, resources, funding, and support to ensure underestimated entrepreneurs succeed.
Leveraging our EDA grant, we're fostering innovation in rural Minnesota and increasing regional connectivity.
If your ecosystem is anything like ours was, it may be difficult for entrepreneurs to navigate. We found this to be an especially big challenge with our many new and diverse founders. To help solve this problem, we created the Tucson Startup Ecosystem Guide. This free community guide lets you know about all of the resources and organizations in our ecosystem. It's user-friendly and very comprehensive. For example, here you can see that you can find all of the workspaces in Tucson, and you can find out which ones are near you. The guide includes over 75 different organizations that you can search by category. We collaborated closely with all of these organizations to make sure that the information is accurate and always up to date. Each profile has been tailored specifically for entrepreneurs. You can see a description and all of the relevant information about the programs and services, the costs, and anything else you would need to know. The best part is each profile has an actual real person to connect with, so you know you won't get the runaround. Not only does the platform include local and regional resources, but entrepreneurs can also access federal resources to help their companies grow. This project was made possible through the Tucson Innovation Partnership. This collaboration helps increase the transparency, the coordination, and the sustainability of the effort. We have seen great success in just the first few months since we have launched, and together we're making entrepreneurship more accessible for all.
Thank you so much for those wonderful videos. And as you can tell, there are real human people here as well, and we make mistakes. So thank you for your patience. Those were the Super Connector winners, who were 𝐏𝐚𝐮 66, Conductor, Launch Minnesota, and Startup Tucson. And you know, as we adapt to life, the Lab to Market prize competition also took shape in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic and the response at the forefront of all of our minds. As we asked ourselves, how might we respond to the current crisis? It was really clear that economic development via entrepreneurship was part of that recovery. So the ecosystem responder category prizes targeted timely and effective responses to the pandemic environment. Here are 4 of our outstanding responders: Challenge America, Hofstra University Center for Entrepreneurship, Hub by 𝐏𝐻𝐻𝑒𝐴𝑡, Jumpstart Inc., and now their submission video.
The COVID-19 Maker Challenge is a collaborative effort between the Veterans Health Administration Innovation Ecosystem and Challenge America, a national nonprofit. This Lab to Market program has produced innovations that are already supporting the work of first responders, environmental management service workers, and frontline staff at long-term care facilities. Through our deep collaboration with the innovation ecosystem, we have worked hard to develop new products and services, but more importantly, this collaboration forged a new innovation infrastructure that has proven capable of adapting to new challenges. Our end users are the key to our success. By directly soliciting challenges from the groups we want to serve, and then inviting the challenge submitters to join us as Maker Team members, we are able to quickly build solutions that meet their needs. For example, in our second Maker Challenge, teams focused on the challenges confronting environmental management services. One team developed a tool to help staff avoid direct contact with commonly touched surfaces like door handles and elevator buttons. The tool features a retractable touchpoint device that includes a sanitization process that sterilizes the device each time it retracts. Today, this device is undergoing testing in the VA Sierra Nevada healthcare system and the VA Memphis Medical Center. By building our capacity to respond quickly and effectively to crises like COVID-19, we are developing a more resilient lab-to-market system that is better equipped to address unforeseen future challenges. Thank you.
Hofstra University's Center for Entrepreneurship is an ecosystem responder. We have provided extraordinary support to over 100 diverse entrepreneurs during the COVID-19 pandemic and near pause of non-essential businesses, continuing to build the regional ecosystem remotely.
We faced many economic challenges and are working harder than ever to reach new clients to provide them with support. We work incredibly hard to support traditionally underrepresented entrepreneurs through our programs. Many of our programs have over half or 100% diverse founders, including the Healthcare Entrepreneurship Community Challenge and Ascend Long Island.
Our Small Business Recovery Program is assisting over 75 companies with their PPP, EIDL, and other loan applications. Ascend Long Island companies are connecting with contracting opportunities. Healthcare Entrepreneurship Community Challenge participants are advancing health equity, and our Hofstra Veterans Venture Challenge participants are working closely with Hofstra students to expand their marketing reach.
We are assisting companies through their path from ideation all the way to growth and supporting our regional economy, advancing the goals of the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council. Thank you for the opportunity to share Hofstra University Center for Entrepreneurship programs.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny Poon. I am the founder of Hub, a digital platform that helps cities better support entrepreneurs in their community through COVID and beyond. So this is a citywide platform for all entrepreneurs to participate in. It brings together community, resources. Anytime a city launches a new program, they'll be notified of the new PPE equipment that's available for residents and city business owners, or the new technical assistance program that can be managed through this as well. Events, courses, webinars, as well as advisors and live chat for entrepreneurs to be able to connect with each other on the fly or connect with a city staff person. Some of the bigger things that have come out of this is the data, honestly. So when a business is onboarded, we collect a lot of data from them, and ongoing on a daily basis, this live dashboard is visible for anybody at the city to understand where a business is. What's come out of that is a higher onboarding rate. More businesses are participating in the program and wanting to participate. 65% of the businesses within the first 30 days created a job, lowered expenses, or improved revenues, which is huge for just 30 days being on the program. And it shows that one of the biggest things that we've known is that it's not that there's not enough resources that exist in a city, it's that the access to those resources aren't equal across the board. And so creating more digital access, but also thinking about how we onboard these businesses, what partners we work with. That was a big part of the success of then creating the diverse community that now is a part of Hub, which is 60% women-owned businesses and 55% minority-owned businesses. So it's been exciting, and we're incredibly proud of the results, and we hope that we are considered for this award. Thank you.
Today's webinar is put on by Jumpstart and ProMedica under the Northern Ohio Entrepreneurial Services Provider, our ESP program, a closely connected network of support organizations in Northeast and Northwest Ohio share the goal of significantly increasing technology-based entrepreneurial commercialization outcomes to generate high-tech, high-wage jobs and opportunities. As you can see on the screen, we have a host of fantastic collaborators that we work with on a daily basis. And basically the goal is to provide free services to entrepreneurs in Northern Ohio and help them start and grow tech-based and tech-enabled businesses. Please feel free to reach out to any of us anytime if you'd like some assistance with your business or even just to begin discussing starting a business.
And now we'll transition from the recognition categories of the super connectors and the ecosystem responders. We've already established the necessity for targeted recovery with a truly inclusive focus. Taking a look now at the Visionary Prize, it was developed to elicit the most creative and actionable ideas related to improving and overall creating a more inclusive R&D innovation ecosystem. This is seen as a core principle tied to our country's recovery, and the competition and following winners give us the chance to share these ideas of what might work. And though the cash prizes aren't large, they are seed funding in their own right to hopefully take our collective dreams into action. So we encourage you to engage now and into the future. We all work together to make really great things happen. Here are the 8 Visionary awardees. Arrowhead Center, the Association for Women in Science with the University of Toledo, Biogenerator, Central Maine Growth Council, Jackson State University, Kentucky Science and Technology Corporation, LabStart, MCA Innovation Center, the Fledge, and Venture Prize at UNC Charlotte. And now, their submission videos.
Arrowhead Center at New Mexico State University is pleased to apply to the Lab to Market Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Competition Visionary category. Through our robust business support programs, Arrowhead Center has a proven track record for connecting underserved populations to the innovation ecosystem for technology transfer, idea development, research support, and SBIR/STTR funding. Working in conjunction with personnel from Sandia National Labs and Los Alamos National Labs, Arrowhead will create a platform to match small businesses with innovation needs to federal resources that can help them take their idea to the next stage of development. Through our work, we've identified gaps when trying to match small businesses to innovation resources. Requirements are often not clear. It's difficult to know who to contact, and capabilities are often buried in confusing websites. Participants will create a critical needs profile and short video that highlights what they need help with and their next steps if they are matched with appropriate resources. The platform will be open to all participants, and businesses will receive training on using the system. Having a virtual profile with dynamic matching will remove the fear factor effect of having to make a cold call to gain access to these resources, and will provide the necessary level of support for non-traditional businesses trying to navigate rules and restrictions that levy a factor of disillusion in working with federal service providers.
We are the Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Collective, a multi-organization collaborative dedicated to equitable innovation. Building on 50 years of systemic change research, advocacy, and programmatic efforts, we created the Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Collective to address diversity, equity, and inclusion needs holistically throughout innovation ecosystems. Over the past 5 years, we have been pilot testing the evidence-based tools and resources needed to empower leaders to remove systemic barriers. And our solutions work. Our solutions include Transformation in a Box, a software platform that guides gatekeepers through diversity, equity, and inclusion audits, creates change recommendations, and supports implementation. After using our product, organizations will be able to reach more marginalized founders and support them more successfully. Our current project involves testing with 9 I-Corps institutions, then scaling that final product to the nearly 100 institutions in the I-Corps community. We also plan to target over 300 tech transfer offices and funders of all types. Transforming these institutions will change the commercialization experience for hundreds of thousands of marginalized innovators. By transforming individual and organizational behaviors, policies, practices, and cultures, we cultivate ecosystems that support, fund, and advance all innovators.
Hello, this is Tom Cohen, coming to you from Biogenerator and BioSTL in St. Louis, Missouri. We're an economic development engine working to create jobs and value for our region through the local life science entrepreneurship ecosystem. We believe a potential pathway toward a more just society is by supporting entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. We've therefore been very purposeful in recruiting underrepresented founders into our entrepreneur support programs. We've had a lot of success with female and foreign-born founders, but less successes to speak of with African-American entrepreneurs. We've therefore been very purposeful in trying to create programming that allows us to close this gap. In fact, we piloted a program last year to bring African American entrepreneurs into our grant-winning system focused on SBR STTR awards. This pilot was successful. We helped win almost $5 million in grants for these entrepreneurs, and we learned something really important. We learned that there was a ceiling on that work because there just aren't that many African American PhD level STEM talent in St. Louis that wanted to pursue entrepreneurship and had access to technology worthy of patents and a startup. We're therefore coming to you today to build upon this award, build upon this finding towards a visionary award for work that's going to recruit national African American STEM talent into our startups. COVID has torn down boundaries. Everything is virtual now. So why don't we bring some of this national talent into our startups, support them towards success events, and thereby help create a more just society? Thank you.
𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs is committed to fostering a robust regional economy. By partnering with Mid-Maine's diverse educational and technological resources, the SBA Lab to Market project will be used to implement a high-impact fellowship program made up of students and residents that represent rural and diverse socio-demographics, and will attract a pipeline of talented individuals that are motivated to develop high-growth startups throughout Mid-Maine.
Broadly speaking, 𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs will be focused on 15 new product launches and $15 million in business sales over the next 3 years, and will allow for improved access to entrepreneurship and educational opportunities for underrepresented or underskilled students and residents.
Represented through the workforce development arm of 𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs, the fellowship program will provide access to entrepreneurial resources and create a diverse mentor network. As a result of this project, Central Maine Growth Council will onboard 10 fellows annually over the next 3 years. These fellows will assist in 𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs initiatives, and the fellowship program will cater to each fellow's individualized aspirations.
As the COVID-19 pandemic has created barriers to growth and development for businesses statewide, tech firms are leading the comeback with 100+ new jobs and nearly 6% population growth in 8 years. In order to continue this growth, 𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs will work with the fellows, startups, and tech firms to design skills training customized to specific workforce needs. As a result of this project, 𝐊𝐤𝐳 Labs will generate economic and educational experiences to develop the Mid-Maine area for years to come.
𝐁𝐻 is a healthcare-focused harvesting and commercialization pre-accelerator program for faculty and students at HBCUs. 𝐁𝐻 is led by Jackson State University and HBCU in Jackson, Mississippi, in partnership with the University of Kentucky Technology Commercialization Office and Accelerate Health. 𝐁𝐻 empowers faculty and students at HBCUs to be change agents on their campuses. If 𝐁𝐻 wins this prize, we will use the funds to expand the program to all HBCUs in the country. That's moving from 31 to 105 HBCUs. We will also expand the program to Hispanic serving institutions. These are largely underserved and under-resourced institutions who may not have the capacity and the resources to have technology transfer offices or to have innovation centers. Our coaches and mentors have many years of experience in innovation, entrepreneurship, technology transfer, and commercialization, also in the healthcare arena and others. It is our hope that with these resources and with the skill sets that the faculty and students gain from participating in the 𝐁𝐻 program, that they'll be change agents on their campuses.
Hi, my name is Monique Kirkendall-Quarterman, and I am the Executive Director for Kentucky Commercialization Ventures. When you think of Kentucky, what comes to mind?
We're known for our horses and booming bourbon industry, but I think of the Kentucky researchers that grew an Ebola vaccine in tobacco plants, or the regional university that partnered with NASA to send equipment into space to find water on the moon. Kentucky Commercialization Ventures is a statewide public-private partnership led by KSTC to expand technology transfer services statewide. The impact will be widespread, including statewide regional and rural inclusion in Kentucky's innovation ecosystem and over 175,000 students gaining access to startup and IP education.
Kentucky Commercialization Ventures is a public-private partnership that unites Kentucky's 24 higher education centers. We believe that opportunity and innovation exist in every corner of our state, and that every Kentuckian can have a role in finding the next cure, solution, partnership, startup, or new frontier.
Hi, my name is John Meissner, the Managing Director of LabStart. LabStart pairs entrepreneurs with researchers at major research institutes to launch startups based on those technologies. We bridge the gap between researchers who don't know how or want to start startups and entrepreneurs who are looking for the next big idea.
With the funding from the Lab to Market Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem Prize, we will be able to expand our network significantly throughout Colorado, the state from which we've started.
We want to move from one laboratory to 5 or 6 throughout the state. We want to include 10 to 15 different communities throughout Colorado and find entrepreneurs in all of them that we can bring to the labs. And we'd like to target rural entrepreneurs as well as part of this effort.
Hi, I'm Aaron Fitzgerald. I'm a fellow at LabStart's inaugural cohort. I'm an idea stage founder searching for technologies that can meet my ambitious goals of a gigaton scale carbon removal. The LabStart program created a clear pathway for me to explore national lab technologies and investigate commercial applications relevant to my mission. During the program, I've had the opportunity to interact with scientists working on transformative clean technologies. And soon, I intend to work to build a startup that leverages these technologies with the continued support of the LabStart team.
We'll be able to launch many more startups than we can today, building off of the states and some of the nation's most promising innovations for clean tech.
The COVID-19 pandemic made it clear that frontline healthcare workers are at great risk as they perform their duties, and that innovations were needed to try to solve for lack of PPE and other gaps in the system. That collaborative efforts between makers and healthcare workers in El Paso and our sister city of Ciudad Juarez can be a powerful way to rapidly develop and test solutions. Since the Innovation Center was founded in 2016, we've worked with nurse innovators who have developed creative solutions to problems that they see in their everyday work.
I am a nurse innovator that have invented 3 devices helping people. My role on the proposed project is to introduce and bring in fellow nurse innovators in our local region of El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Mexico. I feel that nurses will be more adaptable to see another nurse who has innovated and teach them how to do so.
We know from experience that there are other nurses in our community who have great ideas but don't know how to turn those ideas into products. The Innovation Center and our partners, Fab Lab El Paso and Fab Lab Juarez, want to make it easier for nurse innovators to turn their ideas into products that will increase the health and safety of frontline healthcare workers.
Hello, my name is Jerry Norris, and I'm the founder and CEO of The Fledge. The Fledge is a radically and hyper-inclusive safe space that some people might call a community center, other people might call an incubator and accelerator, other people might just call it a place to come and be whoever you want to be. We have a model where we are basically setting up for mentorship, where we are meeting people where they are at and going on a journey with them, and that journey involves being attracted and invited to the Fledge, being welcome and included to the Fledge, and eventually beginning to discover and create who you were meant to be. And we take that and we help people create a product or a service that is sustainable and shareable, and we then help connect them to different ecosystems. So if it's a tech and innovative thing, we will connect them with the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the Michigan State University with their tech team, or Spartan Innovations, or MSU Technologies, or Red Cedar Ventures, and eventually get them connected to SBIRs and pitch competitions and all kinds of different ways to fund their projects. Thank you for considering our submission.
The University of North Carolina at Charlotte serves 30,000 plus students across a full range of disciplines and is the second largest and fastest growing of the 17 institutions within the UNC system. As an NSF I-Corps site and NCIDEA ecosystem partner, Ventureprise is responsible for delivering UNC Charlotte's innovation and entrepreneurship capabilities across campus and out into the regional entrepreneurial community. Ventureprise has established itself as an evidence-based entrepreneurship leader by focusing on foundational programming and has the primary responsibility for relationships with university innovators and the regional startup ecosystem. Ventureprise program alum have made an innovative impact receiving investments, SBIR and NCIDEA grants, participating in National I-Corps, and winning regional and national tech awards. Ventureprise launch. Ventureprise's core expertise is a 6 weeks NSF I-Corps customer discovery program, graduating to date a total of 146 university teams and 104 community teams. With program success to date on customer discovery methodology, we have identified a lack of education and training for women and underrepresented minorities in entrepreneurial leadership positions and in the commercialization and technology transfer process. To increase the diversity of the applicant pool for flagship innovation and leadership positions, Ventureprise will create a commercialization education platform for women and underrepresented minority decision makers, advisors, and entrepreneurs, offering programs training in customer discovery and in the tech transfer and commercialization process.
Well, I hope you were as inspired as our judges and the Lab to Market subcommittee were with all of these winners, this breadth of ideas and backgrounds and amazing things that they were doing. So thank you so much to all of you who submitted. While we weren't able to give cash prizes to all of the dedicated, talented ecosystem builders who submitted, we appreciate all of you who are willing to take the time and effort to support this community, and really look forward to working together to ensure that innovation is truly inclusive and that entrepreneurs, regardless of their gender, race, disability, zip code, or other historical barriers, are able to access and connect up with federal resources. So thank you. I'm really looking forward to collaborating in the future.
Thank you, Jennifer and Brittany, and all those recognized today. What great examples of innovative solutions. As you've heard, these prizes take place in a larger context of Lab to Market. Courtney Silverthorne from the Department of Commerce National Institute of Standards and Technology is going to give you some highlights of this effort and hopefully get you thinking about how you might leverage these efforts in the future.
Thank you so much, Paul, for the introduction, and thank you to everyone participating in this celebration of Lab to Market today. My name is Courtney Silverthorne. I am currently the acting director of the Technology Partnerships Office at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And together with my co-parts at the Department of Energy and the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy, I serve as one of the co-chairs of the Lab to Market subcommittee under the National Science and Technology Council. And I have the privilege today of sharing with you some of the additional Lab to Market accomplishments that our interagency groups have achieved over the last 3 years, in addition to the 2 fabulous prize competitions that you just heard about. Next slide, please. So I actually wanted to start with highlighting the Lab to Market development process, because I think that that is an incredible accomplishment in and of itself. As you heard earlier in the celebration from Catherine Tyner, the idea of Lab to Market and innovation has been baked into the founding of our country from the very first days of our founding fathers. But Lab to Market as an official administration priority has existed since 2014. It's been a bipartisan effort across multiple administrations. And from 2018 to 2019, the Lab to Market team undertook a comprehensive stakeholder-informed engagement process to help build out the roadmap for the cross-agency priority goal, making sure that we were asking the right questions and solving the right problems for our stakeholders in academia, in the entrepreneur communities, and in the private sector. This was a year-long effort that had 5 public events, a kickoff event, and 4 open forums across the country. Over 500 people participated in these public events. We also had a request for information, which generated 104 responses, totaling over 1,000 pages of material from current and future partners of the federal labs. As you saw earlier, 16 agencies participated in this effort, and we also heard from 250 external contributors throughout these processes. And in addition to these efforts, we went out and looked at the existing body of research. There are numerous reports, some recent, some decades old, looking at challenges and possible solutions for tech transfer. And we took over 50 published studies to determine actionable results that we could add into the lab to market efforts. This body of work resulted in a publication authored by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, but with a large amount of interagency contributions, entitled the NIST Green Paper for Unleashing American Innovation. Next slide, please. And so with this body of material, we had 45 federal agency participants across 5 strategy teams to take this information, analyze it, and develop the roadmap for lab to market, including milestones and deliverables. Some of these teams also had efforts in and of themselves. One team produced a metrics white paper, and a second formed a brand new interagency working group dedicated to entrepreneurial training. This effort was recognized by the federal government, and the strategy teams were awarded a Gears of Government Award in 2020 for this stakeholder engagement process leading up to the CAP goal development. Next slide. So over the last 3 years, Lab to Market has had an enormous amount of success. We completed 23 milestones from 2018 to 2020, and 8 of additional initiatives were converted into ongoing long-term efforts, because it was seen as we started to develop the processes and implement them, that it wasn't something that we could conclude with a milestone, but something that had to be baked into agency efforts over time. In addition, Lab to Market was able to showcase and highlight 79 individual agency activities that furthered the goals of Lab to Market. These included, most recently, COVID-related efforts for partnerships, information sharing, and databases to help achieve the goal of ending the COVID pandemic. We highlighted agency-sponsored economic analyses that showed the impacts that federal technology transfer has to the nation in terms of jobs, tax dollars, revenues, and GDP. We also highlighted new and expanded programs at multiple agencies, technology showcases that offered the opportunity for the private sector to see the resources and innovations that are available at the federal labs, improvements to the small business innovation research process, and multiple examples of ways that agencies were supporting private sector partners as co-developers of federal technologies. Next slide, please. So I'd like to highlight a few of the specific milestones across the 5 CAP goal strategy areas. And in the areas of administrative improvements and private sector engagements and entrepreneurship, the federal interagency teams created a new working group that was focused solely on entrepreneurial training within the federal government. As part of this effort, they created a training portal that collected resources from across the agencies of ways that different agencies train their federal scientists in entrepreneurship and technology development. The Lab to Market team also had a Presidential Innovation Fellow who was dedicated for a year to the Lab to Market efforts. And she came to us from a venture capitalist background and helped us assess the agency engagement with the private sector, specifically the venture capitalist and angel investor communities, to make recommendations on how the federal labs can better connect with these communities and make technologies more available and more attractive for private sector investments. We also completed a 20-month process through the interagency communities to develop proposals that were responsive to multiple green paper findings from the NIST publication. Next slide, please. In the strategy areas of technology transfer tools and metrics improvements, we rolled out a new iteration of the Federal Laboratory Consortium's FLC business tool based on customer assessments, taking information from both the agency customers and the private sector customers on how to find technologies and other resources that are available at the federal labs, and we use that to upgrade to FLC Business 3.0. We also developed new tech transfer metrics guidance for agencies. All agencies are required to report metrics on their tech transfer activities to the President and to Congress. And we realized a couple of years ago that there was no consistent definition of what each of those metrics meant. And so we had different agencies providing us different information on the basis of how they interpreted that particular statutory requirement. So through our interagency community, we came to a collective agreement on definitions for each of the metrics, providing much more consistent data collection and reporting across the federal agencies. We also included an a la carte metrics menu for agencies who were reporting additional metrics beyond the statutorily required metrics to highlight and showcase tech transfer activities beyond patents, licenses, and partnerships. We completed assessments of both state and global practices in technology transfer and commercialization, hoping to learn from the best practices of these communities, both our state and local government partners, as well as countries around the world who have implemented technology transfer processes and procedures similar to the United States, and in some cases improved upon them. We also published the first broad interagency study of technology transfer, collecting information and success stories from 9 agencies to showcase the collective impacts that federal technology transfer has had on the United States. And then we also looked inward on ourselves and completed the first internal assessment of the structure of agency tech transfer offices in order to help inform agencies as to best practices on patenting and licensing, budgets and staffing, and other metrics. Next slide, please. So the last 3 years have been an incredible accomplishment of the interagency community working together to provide benefits to our extramural partners in academia and industry. And I want to congratulate every single member of the Lab to Market team for all of the accomplishments and the positive impacts that your efforts have had for technology transfer and unleashing American innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Courtney. What an impressive set of accomplishments. Isn't that truly fantastic, all the work that's been accomplished? Next, I'd like to introduce you to John DeMent, the chair of the Federal Laboratory Consortium for Technology Transfer. As I mentioned earlier, the FLC is a part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and I hope we have a chance to work with you. John, let me turn it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Hello, I'm John DeMent. I'm the chair of the Federal Laboratory Consortium for Tech Transfer, and we typically call it the FLC. Now, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Now, this is your first time of hearing about the FLC. It's a consortium of over 1,000 federal labs from over 23 federal agencies who are chartered by law to make federal assets available to individuals, entrepreneurs, small businesses, as well as medium and large-sized businesses, educational institutions, not-for-profits, as well as state and local governments. Earlier, Catherine used the number of 300 federal labs that do research and development. Well, there's another 700 plus federal labs that also do engineering and other technology development and product development as well. And some of those technologies are already productized and pretty much market ready. And the concept of tech transfer is really simple. As taxpayers, you have access to the assets that your taxes have funded at the federal labs, right? Get that. You've paid taxes, and now you can actually get access back to those assets. And the intent and purpose of the law is very simple. It's provide access to those assets to improve the economic, environmental, and social well-being of the United States. And tech transfer is the how or the means we make some of those assets available to you. Now, FLC helps you engage the federal labs for the purpose of tech transfer. And specifically what we do is we're chartered to help the federal labs and the agencies do that. And we do that by actively promoting and communicating to you, the private sector, really what the availability, the benefit, and the value of those labs assets. And we proactively engage and leverage partnerships that connect you and or your clients with relevant federal labs to help you further your endeavors. And if you hear nothing else from me, hear that FLC is here to help you find federal technology or lab that is relevant to your endeavors. Next slide, please. Now, the federal labs exist to fulfill the mission of the federal agencies. Now, when those agencies' missions needs are fulfilled, the resulting assets are typically items, things like intellectual property, drawings or other technical data, software, code, special equipment and facilities, and even subject matter experts. And regardless of your technology or business interest, there's most likely research and development that is relevant to you occurring at one of those 1,000+ federal labs. And through tech transfer, we, the federal labs, want to get it in your hands, the private sector's hands, to further develop, potentially in collaboration with us, potentially call private investment, ultimately to commercialize, such as available for the good of the United States, again, economically, environmentally, and socially. Next slide, please. Now, here are some of the common tech transfer means and mechanisms for how we engage and gain access, how you can engage and gain access to federal labs and their assets. The Labs Tech Transfer professional will work with you on what the best mechanism or mechanisms are best to help you achieve your desired outcome. And just to give you a sense for kind of the scale of tech transfer that's already going on, pretty much at any given year, there's about 8,000 to 10,000 licensing agreements between the labs and individuals or companies, and over 30,000 collaborative agreements between the labs and individuals or companies as well. So there's already a ton of this type of activity going on. And really the question is, how can we help you be a part of that and let these assets be part of your success in business? Next slide, please. Now, here's just a couple of the tools and valuable resources that are at your disposal at the website. And the website is federallabs.org, federallabs.org, or you can Google FLC. And you'll find just a multitude of type of information, from education to background to different types of mechanisms to even doing searches on technologies as well as labs. So you can put in a buzzword for a technology or capability and literally search the database and come up with relevant hits that way. So go there, check out those tool sets that were made available to you. Next slide, please. And then lastly, we're dedicated to serving our member labs, forming partnerships with like-minded organizations and fostering those connections between federal labs, businesses, entrepreneurs to produce successful lab to market outcomes. So please reach out. You can see the email there, and let us help you connect with the relevant lab and relevant technology. So thanks. Back to you, Paul.
Well, thank you so much, John. Really appreciate that. Very informative today. Well, as you can see from all of our presentations today, when we work together, we can do some pretty remarkable things. As we celebrate National Entrepreneurship Week, I hope you enjoyed hearing about some of the impressive activities that represent some really amazing resources. I hope we can work together to support our national and regional economies and promote growth in our country and our communities. I invite you to please take a look at the handouts included today, including our awards book, and how to submit questions and get help. On behalf of the organizers and the presenters, congratulations to all of our prize winners, and thank you so much for attending today.